Welcome back. I went with the wife today to Walmart to pick up a couple of those disposable, nowadays I guess you can call them, garden lights, which of course this is one of, and it was 97 cents. And of course the bottom here, you pull it out, there's your spike, you stick it in the ground after you pull the little tab out. Solar, of course. And well, what do you expect for 97 cents, right? Well, unfortunately, when you get on it too hard, sticking it in the ground as one could expect, it's going to break. And of course, I broke one. Now you can see I broke it straight off on the bottom. Now, of course, all the important parts are up here in the top. As you can see, there's a little LED glowing. Now this didn't get a lot of time to charge. The other one I yanked out and for the purposes of this video. But you can see right here, this little stem here just broke right off. I was just pushing straight and I went, ah, crap. But you know, me, I hate throwing things away. So I figured, well, there's got to be something I could do with this, right? Well, it just so happens to be that I have a mason jar. So what I'm going to do is take this mason jar and put this into it somehow. Now first I thought the simple thing to do would be just to drill a little round hole and just stick this out and just have it sticking out the top like that. But that kind of looks a little dumb, I think. So then I thought, well, I'll just cut a square hole out here and then I'll just attach this from the inside so that the solar panel is just visible, and that's what I'm going to do. Of course, the mason jar has a lid that unscrews and then that comes out and falls on the floor. But I'll go grab that and show you here in just a second. But that just sits on top. This is going to sit inside, and then this outer rim just connects on top. And this is actually going to be pretty waterproof when I'm done with it. I have to figure out exactly how to attach it to the top, but other than that, the gasket inside here and all that, it is gasketed. So eventually, once I get this ready to go, I can actually just use like liquid electrical tape in there just to further seal it, and it would be perfect. But getting the hole cut out is going to be the big thing. And also we'll do a little mini teardown. You can see it does say it has a 2/3 AA battery, so obviously it's 2/3 the size of a AA battery, running at 1.2 volts, which most of those rechargeables are. And there's just 2 screws. It looks like this is just going to pop straight off, and we can see inside here. And we'll go do that now, right now. Alright, of course, once you get those 2 screws out, this just comes straight apart. As you can see here, it just slides out nice and neat. Now, I saw something nice inside here. They already went ahead and used the liquid electrical tape to seal up the 2 entrances as well as wires came through. So that's actually really nice. Surprising. Not sure if they tested this out and see if it is water resistant or not. And it wouldn't hurt to, of course, put some more on there. Then you can see this comes down. There's a little charger circuit here with just a little epoxied over circuit. I think on the other side there was just a single resistor, which is probably the resistor for the LED. Of course, we can look at our battery here, which again is a 2/3 AA, and it's running at 150 milliamp hour. So I'd imagine this wouldn't last terribly long through the night. By comparison, here's a regular AA battery, so you can see it is definitely 2/3. So now that we're inside here, we could look at it. You could indeed change the LED if you wanted. You would just desolder it here from the board and then just replace it. But this is actually a unique LED. I don't know if you could see it on the camera very well or not, but the actual LED has a short dome on it, so the light, I'm sure, disperses a lot of a wider pattern. That's actually going to look really nice inside this jar. Now, I mentioned just taking this lid and punching a hole out. Now there's a couple different ways you could do it. You can obviously use a Dremel tool. You could probably score it a bunch of times with a knife if you really wanted to. It's pretty thin metal. I'm actually going to use what's called a nibbling tool. A nibbling tool is this guy here. And you see it's got this little jaw at the top. and that's what's going to do the nibbling. It's going to take a little bite out of the metal each time, and the bite is only as deep as that jaw right there, which isn't very deep. But believe it or not, you can actually get this you know, quite a few times into that piece of metal pretty easily. And all you need is just a round hole big enough to pop that through. So I'm just going to drill this out, pop that through, and then I'm going to go around the edges. Now I do have to mark it first, and I have to figure out how to do that. I can just use a pair of calipers, which I do have here, and just measure it out square, and then just draw it out. That'd be the probably easiest way for me to do it. Elsewise, you could use a ruler, any kind of straight edge. I'm sure this is a universal thing. I don't have the ruler in front of me right now. The camera is kind of in the way of the draw here, but I will get in here in a second. We'll measure this out and just see how big exactly that is, and we'll just have to make that area square. And as far as connecting it, we can use our friend hot glue. I was thinking of painting this once we get the hole cut out with the liquid electrical tape, and maybe put a little bit on here and just smearing the two edges together, and then putting a little bit of the hot glue just to structurally hold it in place, and that should keep it pretty well sealed. And then you can see there is a rubber, I guess a rubberized gasket or some material around in here. We can also go ahead and paint the inside of that, so when this sits on here and we tighten it down like so, it will it'll become watertight basically, and this will completely be sealed. I just, you know, had this, actually somebody gave it to me for something, and I just had it. I just figured I would reuse it, and this will end up just sitting on my table outside when it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the calipers and the ruler, and we'll measure this and just see how big it is. Alright, it looks like it reads at 30 millimeters, or 1 inch and 3/16, and that is square. And of course, if I had a pair of calipers, which I do here, and I already have it set to 30 millimeters, you could see it's exactly square 30 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that out on this disc, probably in the back side. And I'll use my straight edge to do that. I'll just make a point, measure out, and try to get it square as possible. And once I get that done, I'm going to use a nibbling tool to nibble it out. Alright, what I did here was found what I consider the center point. It's not perfect center, but it's close enough. And I just used the straight edge just to make this X pattern here. And what I did was measure out from the middle of there 15 millimeters on all sides, and that's going to give me my 30 by 30. And now I'm just going to go ahead and draw the square line out here, and of course the lines will just overlap, and my square should be right in the middle when it's done. And there you have it. Now all I have to do is drill out a hole here in the middle big enough to fit the nibbling tool head through, and start cutting out the nibble. We start out with a 3/16 inch hole, and then we end up with a 5/16 inch hole, and this should be big enough now to pass the jaw of the nibbler tool right into, and I can go ahead and start biting out to this edge and then to each corner here, piece by piece. And I'm going to do this over a garbage can to hold all the pieces. Now I'm using this inside, and it's actually kind of late, so this won't make any noise, well, comparatively to a like Dremel tool or something. So that's what's good about this. And luckily this is a light gauge metal, so this shouldn't be too hard on the wrist. But as you can see, you basically have this chalked up here, and this kind of works in a little bit. I gotta get some like Sugru or something and put that on here to make a nicer grip eventually, but you get the idea. Now they do have pneumatic versions of this, but of course you'd have to have an air compressor to do it. But like I said, you just go in and take a bite, and you'll actually see, and then there it just squared the hole out. But this is going to punch really easily. So I'm going to go ahead and now punch that whole thing out. And here's our square hole. It's not perfectly square, but this of course does need to be perfect. And then of course we're going to use these files here, which is just the micro files, just to deburr this edge, just to get the sharp pieces off it. If I show you over here, we can see that fits in there pretty good. So now all that's left to do is, like I said, clean the edges up, and then we'll prep this up and get this connected. Alright, we got the hole all cleaned up as best as I could. You can see there's some spots in here where I hit it with the file, which is fine, because I needed to get in there and flatten it out just to get that edge off of there. So now this will line up, like I said, as best as I can get it. Now what I'm going to do is use the liquid electrical tape, and I'm going to paint these 4 edges here and just kind of stick it in place. And I have the hot glue gun heating up, and I'll put just a couple pieces around there just to, you know, mechanically hold it in place. And then I'll use the electrical tape, liquid stuff here, and we'll paint all around this inside edge, get whatever spots here are still exposed, stick it directly down on here and tighten it in, and that should be the project done, believe it or not. I do have to put this back together. Before I do that though, I am going to paint this circuit board with the liquid electrical tape, just as a precautionary thing. And here it is held in with the liquid electrical tape like I mentioned. I put a bead of hot glue along the top and the bottom here. I'm going to go over that now that it's dry again with the liquid electrical tape, and go all along the connection point here. And then I'm also going to fill up this red area as well, just to make sure that that seals against that glass nicely. And then I'm going to screw it together. And there you have it. This is how you turn a standard stake light like this into a mason jar light like this. And you can see if I cover it up, it does light up. I will kill the lights here in just a moment and show you what it does look like. Now it doesn't have a full charge, but you'll still get the idea. It's nice because the way it works, that piece does come down into the light and the bulb kind of sits there in the middle, as you can see in this one little clear window. Plus with the pattern in the glass, that should diffuse the light nicely. And then we have just the top up here, which set nicely. I haven't had a chance to clean it, but that's because the stuff hasn't really dried yet. But underneath this, if I unscrew this lid would actually stay attached because it's all filled in with that liquid electrical tape. You can see the top inside is all black. You can't see any of the white any longer, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead, dim the lights out, and show you what this looks like, and we'll sign off. And obviously this one here is the one with the full battery because it was outside in the sun a little longer. But you can see that it's pretty bright. And then we have the new one over here, which of course, you know, like I said, it's not as bright. There's other lights on in my room here which are far brighter, like the red LED glow you could see. But just you can kind of get an idea how bright it will be once it finally charges up all the way. But you know, it's not going to be super bright, but it will be bright enough to see and be used as a desktop light, if you will, like out in the you know, table outside or something like that. They are pretty bright though, as it will get, like I said. Now I should have honestly put the brighter battery inside this one. That would have made more sense, I guess, in hindsight. But nevertheless, you get the idea. Perhaps what I'll do is in the thumbnail of this picture, or towards the end, I will actually have a picture of this. With that, I want to say thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.